Did you know that real stories build fluency? Today, I have a real story for you about a road trip gone wrong. Welcome to English Coach 3Ts. I'm Tanya, and if we haven't met before, I'm a certified teacher and the creator of our She Speaks Fluency program and my free More English Club. In my free More English Club, I send you a practice plan that you can use with this video and other videos here on YouTube so that you can be more fluent faster. To join the club, just go to the link in the description below, scroll down to where you put your name and your email address in the boxes, and I'll send you the free practice plans and a lot more. My story today is about a road trip. Road trips are very popular here in the United States, and I'm going to tell you what that means, and I'm going to tell you why using real stories like this helps you to become fluent faster. So first of all, if you want to know more vocabulary, if you want to make sure that you're using grammar correctly, and you want to sound more natural, listening to stories like this and doing the things that I suggest at the end of this video and in my free More English Club are going to help you to do that now. So first, let's talk about the story. What is a road trip? Here in the United States where I live, road trips are very popular, meaning that people like to take trips in their car that are not very long according to Americans. It may seem long to people from, for example, Europe. So we might drive somewhere for the weekend, maybe 2 or 3 hours away. We might even go 5 or 6 hours in the car to do something fun or visit friends and family for the weekend or maybe 3 or 4 days. This is a road trip. And part of the fun is the time you spend in the car listening to music, talking with your friends, and generally having a good time. And that's what this story is about. This is a story from before I had children, when I took a lot of road trips with my friends. And we would travel to places where we could spend more time in nature. On this particular road trip, we were traveling from Phoenix, Arizona to San Diego to spend a little more time, actually 5 or 6 days, on a boat in San Diego so that we could be out on the ocean. If you're interested in more vocabulary that you can learn with a story about the beach, I'll put my beach video above and in the description below. This particular time, we were going to spend more time on the boat, a little time on the beach, but more time on the boat. And there were 4 of us going. It was our good friends, Stacy and Mitch, my husband, and myself. We were all great friends. We spent time together almost every week. And we decided that even though none of us had very much money at this time, if we all pitched in, meaning if we all put our money together and planned in a way that would be less expensive, we could all rent a boat together and have this great trip. So we decided to take my car, which was a very small car, and the reason was that it got good gas mileage, but we could put quite a few things in the car. The problem was that the gas gauge was not working correctly. A gas gauge is the indicator on your dashboard, which is the part of the car right in front of you when you're sitting in the place where you drive. And in front of you, you can see the speedometer, which it tells you how fast you're going, the gas gauge, which tells you how much gas you have, and other indicators that help you to drive safely. In this case, the gas gauge didn't work at all. It never went up or down. It was always on empty. And so in my regular everyday life, I knew about how many miles I could travel before I needed to get more gas. But what we didn't think of is the fact that we would now have 4 grown adults and all of our stuff, including 2 huge coolers of food. A cooler, or it might be called an ice chest, is a big plastic container that you can put food and ice in to keep it safe and cool so that you can use this food for a few days. We decided we were going to bring all of our food to save money, and these 2 coolers were very heavy. So without thinking about it, we all piled in my little car, piled in meaning we all got in with all of our stuff and started driving out of Phoenix, Arizona into the desert where there was just not a lot of civilization, just not a lot of places where you could stop to get food or water or gasoline or any of these kinds of things. And it didn't take long before we ran out of gas. We had no gas. The car would not start and would not go. So we all got out of the car on the side of the road and we were trying to figure out what to do. None of us had a cell phone because this was before cell phones. And the 4 of us decided somehow we were going to have to get enough gas to get from where we were to the next gas station, which was quite a ways away. Stacy, my good friend, who was a little bit of a wild card, meaning you kind of never knew what she was going to do, decided that she would hitchhike. Hitchhiking in the United States was very common, especially back in the 60s and 70s, but it is also considered very, very dangerous, as a lot of people have been hurt or even killed when they were hitchhiking, meaning they put out their thumb, I'm going this way, and a car will stop and pick them up. It is sad that it is so dangerous, since there are a lot of people who have hitchhiked and had a great time. But because it is so dangerous, we always talked about not doing this kind of thing. But Stacy was one of these people who was not afraid of much at all. She put out her finger just by herself, and it wasn't long before a truck driver in an 18-wheeler, one of these huge trucks that carry goods and food and things across the United States, stopped to give her a ride. And as she was running to get into this 18-wheeler, I was like, oh my gosh, Mitch, which was her husband, you have to go with her to keep her safe. So he ran and jumped into the 18-wheeler with her. Actually, I remember thinking maybe he could stop her, but before long, they were both gone, leaving my husband and I on the side of the road. We waited and waited and waited, and they were gone for what seemed like forever. And pretty soon it was starting to get dark. I was starting to get pretty scared because out in this part of the desert, there are a lot of snakes and scorpions and things that you just do not want to run into, especially in the dark when you can't see them. So we got back in the car and waited. After what seemed like a very long time, here they came back with a gas can. A gas can is typically made of red plastic so that it can be easily seen, since it could be dangerous. Gasoline is explosive. But I think the reason we call it a can, even though it's made out of plastic, is that a long time ago it was made more like this watering can out of metal. The gas can they came back with was 1 gallon. Now, 1 gallon of gas is not a lot of gas. And as soon as we saw them walking towards us with 1 gallon of gasoline. We both looked at each other like, you have to be kidding. This is an expression we use when we mean this can't be real. They can't possibly think that 1 gallon of gas is going to be enough to get us to the next gas station, especially after we just ran out of gasoline. But that's what they had, and it took them a long time to get it. So we put the gasoline into the gas tank in the car. We all piled back into the car and started off towards the gas station. And sure enough, just as we could see the sign for the gas station on the horizon, we ran out of gas again. I have to say, my husband was not happy at all, thinking, you put yourself in danger, you put us in danger, and you didn't even get enough gas to get us to the next gas station. But being the kind of person who always wants to make the best out of everything, I jumped out of the car with Stacy. We talked Mitch and my husband into jumping out, and we pushed the car to the gas station. Luckily, we were able to get a full tank of gas and be on our way again to go to San Diego. This is just part one of this story because you can never go anywhere with my friend Stacy without not only having a great time, but having things that are unexpected happening. And actually, she and I talked about it recently, about a year ago, and we still saw this story in completely different ways. So I'm going to tell you the rest of the story and some of the things that we disagreed on in the next video. But while you're waiting for that video, you can use this video to help you become more fluent, just by thinking about how much of this story you could understand. Your goal is to understand about 95% or more of the story so that your brain is listening and understanding. And when there is something new, a new word or a new phrase, your brain can kind of understand what it means, or maybe it's one of the things I described to you, or maybe you don't totally understand, but you still have the idea of the story. This is a great way to improve a lot of skills in English, like listening, speaking, vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, and more. So what should you do now? If you already understood 95% or more, I would say that you have done all you want to do with this story, and I'll tell you what to do next here in a minute. If you understood less than 95%, I would suggest you get my free practice plan at the link below for my free English club. Look over what I give you to practice there, and then in a day or two, or maybe next week, watch the story again and see if you understand more. If you're ready to listen to another story because you already understood 95% or more, I suggest you listen to this story next, and I'll see you there.